So, today I wanted to talk to you about the 10 powerful habits of people who age well. Just from my own experience of as a physician, I've seen patients I've delivered babies. I think my oldest was 104. So, it's really interesting to see the spectrum of individuals who live well, right? I've seen plenty of those who don't, but there's some really interesting habits about those who actually live well. And I will share a story with you about one that really just every time I saw her just lit up. She was in her late 70s, closing in on 80. And I lived in the town called Rifle, Colorado. Yes, there's a town called Rifle, Colorado. I think he got its name from a rifle leaning up on a tree at one point. And anytime I would see her, it was such a joy because she was just hearty. She wore her Levi's, she had her hair pulled up, she wore her little, shirt, corduroys, you name it, always ready to go. Didn't matter what type of weather. She came in once a year, just to get her labs, make sure she was doing all right. And it was always so funny. I asked her, what were you doing recently? And how is everything going? She goes, I'm doing fine. I was digging some post holes. Now, I don't know if y'all have ever dug a post hole. I have dug a post hole because we put up our own fencing. But when you dig a post hole, there's these post hole diggers. It's like, imagine two shovels together. And yeah, I don't know, it's like a pliers, a big pliers. You have to push it down and then you grab the dirt and you pull it up. I mean, it's hard for a man, much less a woman, and then an elderly woman. I mean, it is physical labor like crazy. And here she was out digging some post hole dirt, and then she'd say she's stringing her barbed wire and she's fixing the fencing and she'd ride her horses. So she was the epitome of how to live life well because she did several things, and those are the kind of the 10 habits we're going to talk about. And then I'll share with you just kind of an active tip what you can be doing that in your own life, regardless of what age you are. You would benefit from paying heed to these habits that I've noticed, and I'm certainly sure they're not going to be a surprise, but some of them might. But all right, you ready to go in? First of all, I'm a big fan of talking about mindset, right? I think many of you have heard me talk about this. We're really focusing in on habits because I can tell you to eat a plant based diet, but if you struggle to bring it into your life, what good is it for me to tell you the knowledge? So many people have the knowledge that they need to exercise, they need to manage their stress, they need to sleep better, they need to eat more plants, but they really struggle how to bring it into a system into their lives. And this is really where habit formation comes in, understanding how your habits are formed and how to bring them in. So that's what we're going to be really focusing in on a lot of, yes, more plants and everything, but also about the habits so you can actually implement it in your life and keep it there. So that's why you hear me talk about that more and more and more. But the first habit is they see aging as a privilege and not a curse. And I know that can be hard because when I turned 50 a few years ago, more than a few years ago, it was weird for me. It was like this sudden transition from my youth to like, downward down the down here slide. But then I really started being attracted to older people, and they had a different mindset, right? They really did see aging as a new opportunity, typically free from kids in the home, and you're just in a different space. And they don't fear getting older, right? They embrace it. They see each year as almost like an opportunity for growth and wisdom, deeper relationships. So instead of like clinging to youth, they celebrate the experiences and the lessons that they've accumulated. That mind shift alone will help you change everything. So here's an action. So instead of dreading birthdays, start seeing them as milestones of mastery, right? Reflect on what you've learned and gained each year. I would almost encourage you to do a journal, right? So this year, maybe it could literally just be one journal, and every year you bring it out and maybe reflect on the years prior and then write how this next year has gone, right? It's almost like, here's the goals that I had set for myself. These are the lessons that I learned. And you can almost think of it as a legacy that you could leave for your children or grandchildren or those who you care and love about, because it's such a joy to see that. It reminds me when I had each of my children, I did what we call a mother's journal. My dear friend Meredith, actually from high school, we were friends actually from fourth grade. She gave me this mother's journal for Emily, my oldest. And Emily's almost 31. She'll be 31 on Sunday. And I remember journaling in that when I was still pregnant. And then I did it through the first 5 years of their life. And I did it for my boys as well. And now we look back on that. Well, she has it now. And it's the funnest thing to think about where my mind was as a young going to be mother at the age of, like, I think I was 23 when I had Emily. And so I sit there and I go, wow, this is a very different, you know, thinking process. And so now when you even think as, where was I last year? I'm different than I was there. So anyway, I'd encourage you to consider doing something like that. And number two, they move daily, but with purpose. So my rancher patient didn't go to the gym, right? She's like, I never had a desire to go to the gym because what I do all day. She was out moving every day, right? Working, walking, lifting, and staying strong. And those who age well do not see movement as an optional activity. They make it just a part of their daily life. So my recommendation for you is action step, right? Find movement that feels good and not just something you should do, but the goal is consistency, not perfection. I had another appointment with a patient recently who said, I've been doing just these little bits of things. I'll do some squats for this, and I'll got the treadmill desk under, the under desk treadmill. And she was doing some other things as well. She goes, I will just do some jumping jacks, or I'll go out with my daughter and I'll wear the weighted vest. And it was awesome. And so what's happened now, she's naturally losing weight. She's feeling stronger and better because she just made it more of a natural part of her day, because she works long hours. She's not going to have to worry about either, getting up earlier to go to work out or doing it later. So what she's done, she's just incorporated these small little bursts of movement through her day. Even though it is kind of more of a desk job, she is able to stand and doing some other things. So think about how you can incorporate movement in just your everyday activities. Step 3 is they prioritize muscle over weight. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I see is people focusing on the scale instead of muscle. Now, muscle is essential for metabolism, strength, mobility, and resilience as you age, right? Those who age well strength train, even if it's just bodyweight exercises or going out and lifting heavy things and moving things, grandkids, be it whatever. If you're not already, I would encourage you to start resistance training. So even knee push-ups or air squats count, or push-ups against the counter. Fun story that you may have heard me tell is I had a patient in her mid to late 60s and we were trying to figure out how to incorporate more exercise into her day. And she's like, Dr. Marvis, I just don't know. I'm just so tired. I just don't sure how I can do it. I was like, okay. I used kind of my habit healer system approach. I was like, well, what are you doing every day? Like, even if you were traveling, that you do every single day, didn't matter. She goes, well, I would drink my coffee. I was like, well, what are you doing while the coffee's brewing? She goes, I'm standing there waiting for it. I was like, can you do 2 push-ups against the counter? And she goes, okay, just 2 push-ups against the counter. I was like, yeah, that's all I want. She's like, okay, I can do that. I was like, and then I just kind of left it there. And as 2 months passed, I came back and we followed up. She says, Dr. Marvis, aren't you going to ask me about my push-ups? I was like, no, tell me about your push-ups. 2 months later, she was doing 60, that's a 6 and a 0, push-ups against the counter. Now I would ask any of you to go do 60 push-ups, and I'm not telling you, that is not a small feat. It was incredible. And she was so proud of herself. She's like, look at my guns. And so those are the kind of things that can happen with a small, habit, and building it and doing it systematically. It just kind of begins to snowball, and you get the benefits of that becoming a automatic habit to the point you don't even think about it anymore. So there's that. Number 4, they eat for longevity, right? Not just short-term goals. So the best agers focus on nourishment, not dieting. They eat plenty of fiber and whole plant foods and healthy fats. They're not fat phobic, meaning they get their food from, let's say avocados and nuts and seeds, not necessarily oils, but they do eat a variety of foods, right? And they prioritize legumes and whole grains for that protein for their muscle maintenance. Drink plenty of water, stay hydrated, and avoid the ultra processed foods. Not necessarily obsessing over every calorie, but they're fueling for their future. So here's an action step for you. Focus on adding more of those whole nutrient dense foods instead of fixating on cutting things out. It's like, what can I do to add it in and crowd out some of the other stuff? Habit 5 is they protect their brain like their life depends on it. Now, memory loss and cognitive decline are not inevitable. Those who age well actively challenge their brains, learning new skills, engaging in deep conversations, and staying socially connected. They also prioritize sleep. They manage stress and eat brain boosting foods. So, here is your action step. Learn something new. Maybe it's a language, an instrument, or let's say a new recipe. The more you challenge your brain, the sharper it stays. And use it or lose it is really important here. uh, Habit 6, they have a purpose that gets them out of bed. So retirement is not an excuse to stop living. The most vibrant older adults have something that fuels them, right? A mission, a purpose, a hobby, or a way to contribute to the world. They don't just sit around waiting for time to pass. So here's your action step. Ask yourself what excites you and what makes you feel alive. And if you do not know, it's time to explore. Habit 7, they master their stress response. So chronic stress accelerates aging. The healthiest people do not necessarily just manage stress, they master their response to it. So whether through mindfulness, meditation, prayer, or deep breathing, they have developed a way to stay calm and centered. And action step could be you could build a 5-minute stress relief habit into your daily routine. Deep breathing, a short walk, a gratitude practice can shift your entire nervous system. For myself, I like to do my morning walks. This is kind of my what I call my mindful walks. I'm listening to things, podcasts or music or nothing at all, and just really contemplating my own desires of being here on this earth. What type of person do I want to be when I'm going to be stepping into conversations with people and interactions with people? I really want to be the person that uplifts and encourages. So think about a time like that. At the end of the day, I like to have a gratitude moment where I'm thankful for literally 3 things. They don't have to be big, or they could be small. Just really kind of setting my tone for the evening with gratitude. And I tend to wake up in a much better mood as well. Number 8 is they nurture relationships like their health depends on it, because it does. Loneliness is more dangerous than smoking. The people who age well are deeply connected to friends, to family, to community. They prioritize relationships and make time for them. So, action steps: schedule a phone call, a coffee date, or even a walk with someone you care about, because connection is a form of medicine. Number 9, they take sleep seriously. Sleep is not a luxury, and it's a foundation to aging well. So those who thrive in later years really protect their sleep by maintaining a nighttime routine, avoiding the blue light before bed, and prioritizing that deep, restful sleep. So what I would recommend you do is set a wind down routine. Dim the lights, avoid the screens, and create kind of like a sleep sanctuary, right? You feel like you're just like a cozy and get snuggle in. Number 10, they stay curious and open minded. The best agers never stop growing. They remain open to new ideas, challenge their own beliefs, and stay flexible in how they approach life. They don't get stuck in the rigid thinking, they evolve. So the action step is approach something today with curiosity instead of judgment. Maybe read a new book that would be outside your normal, listen to a different perspective, or maybe try a new experience. So remember, aging is not something that happens to you, it is something you can create. You have more control of your aging experience than you realize. And the habits you build now will determine how you feel and move and thrive in the years ahead. And aging is not about decline, it's about mastery. So the question is not how to stop aging. The question is, how can you age more powerfully, vibrantly, and with purpose? And that answer starts today. So I hope you found that helpful. Aging is such an important topic. And I trust me, if you're younger and you're listening to this, when you hit 40, 45, 50, and older, as I've been told by people who call me a youngster, it's really important is your mindset and how you approach it. So thank you for being here as always, sending gratitude, joy, love, and healing your way. As always, we need more of that. And again, don't forget, you just one healing habit away from transforming your life. I'll see you next time.